Alexis is buying her first home in May, and in this email, she says she knows she needs to get pre-approved, but she's wondering when she gets to the closing table, what documents should she bring with her? She lists a couple of them here. Does she need to bring a birth certificate?
Great question, Alexis, and congratulations. This is such a huge milestone and one that I'm sure will bring lots of good memories for years to come in your new home. So we get this question a lot, and even for our seasoned home buyers and sellers, you forget. It's at a very emotional time. You know, you're packing stuff up, you've been through a long process already. And so I totally understand how, there could be some absent-mindedness when it comes to what you need to bring to closing. So I think that we can always do a better job over communicating what needs to be done. Birth certificate? No. However, what you need to bring is an unexpired photo ID. The lenders are always going to require a copy of that, but I understand they may have already asked for it, but I need it at the closing table because we will be notarizing your signature. And an unexpired photo ID is also the best way for me to realize that you are who you say you are. Now, I say unexpired because oftentimes people don't realize they've expired accidentally. So check that out. Certainly better us to tell you that it's expired than the police officer that pulls you over. But just be aware of that, especially with the newer options with the Real ID. You're sometimes able to renew online, which is super convenient. So make sure it's unexpired. If you don't have a driver's license, your passport is also a great photo ID. Just make sure, again, that it's not expired. In the event you only have expired material, you're unable, to renew that prior to closing, just have that conversation with your agent, lender, and title company representative, but it will likely result in them requesting you to go in and get that renewed form. Now, that said, there's another important piece of what you need to bring. Besides your ID, so we know that you are who you say you are, you need to bring your proceeds check. So most buyers have to put money down to buy a house. And that means that whatever your lender tells you you need to bring to closing, when the closing attorney sends you that statement in advance and your agent goes over it with you, there'll be a bottom line number that the borrower and buyer needs to bring in closing to effectuate your purchase. So whatever that number is, it needs to be in certified funds. So if it's a wire, just be cognizant of wire fraud, which is rampant. Have safe and secure conversations relative to that. Otherwise, the most common way to bring those certified funds are going to be your cashier's check. So just go into the bank prior to closing, whatever that number is, make sure you ask for it in a certified check, and you can make it payable to yourself, or you just sign the back over at closing to the title attorney. If you're not sure the numbers or they're not finalized, overshoot it if you can. Just if there's any last minute changes, we can always cut you a check back at closing for any overage. That's always better. The last item I'll say just in connection with that is, in the event those numbers aren't finalized and you don't overshoot it, bring your personal checkbook if you have one. But oftentimes closing attorneys will only take a personal check for an insignificant amount, about $250 or less.